Hi everyone, and welcome to my first ever planty takeover. So I am currently parked out front of my friend Chris and Megan's home. They are on vacation right now, and we are going to be taking over their houseplant collection. We're going to be going around kind of assessing the state of their plants, doing a little rehab if we feel the need to rehab, maybe rearranging some things to put some of the plants in better conditions based on the lighting setup in their home. And we are going to be adding at least one new plant to their collection. But let's just go ahead and head inside and see what we're working with. Okay, you guys, let's just get the lay of the land first in terms of what we're working with in terms of natural light. So I did just walk in the front door here. Their front of their house faces to the west. So these are west-facing windows. And I will say right now, you guys, I know why they did this. In case you can't tell what I'm talking about, the blinds are mostly closed. And I know they did that because they're on vacation. Obviously, they don't want anybody being able to peer in their house and whatnot. But oh my gosh, while we are here, we are going to brighten it up in here because these poor plants need some light, at least while we're here. And then I will close them back up once we're gone, especially of this plant that is over here, because even though the top ones are open, that is getting like hardly any light down onto this Dracaena here. So let's just get you a little light while we're here, little plant baby. Okay, so like I said, west facing, but in case you guys can't see it, there is a rather large tree out there, and because it is still not quite warm enough for foliage, well, I mean, some foliage I can see out there is starting to grow back on this tree, but it's not fully foliated yet. But when it is, this is going to obstruct a lot of the light coming in this window, like a lot. I mean, it's the full width of the windows and goes to above the windows. So unfortunately, this is not going to be the best place for highlight plants. Dracaena over here seems to be doing okay for the most part. We do have a little funky situation on the leaf right here, but it's just on that one leaf, so that's not anything super worrisome. But we're gonna take this out of this spot and get it into some better lighting here in a bit and kind of just assess overall how it's doing. But I think Megan told me, she was telling me about this plant not too long ago. I think she's had it here for quite a while now, and it seems to be doing okay. So we might be all right to leave it here, but let's just see what else we're working with first. And then over here we have our first set of southern facing windows, and they do only have one plant in here currently, and we will get up close to that plant and talk about it in a second. But this is an unobstructed southern facing window. So this is a great spot for plants that really like high light. But let's go check out the one plant that they have here currently. Okay guys, so they do have a snake plant here, AKA Dracaena technically now. So this has been reclassified from Sansevieria to Dracaena. So it is technically now in the same genus as the plant we just looked at. But I do recall a few things about this plant. One, I remember Chris complaining to me at one point about why was his snake plant so skinny. So you can see this is really skinny down here. We're not used to seeing that. And then it's getting a little bit wider up at the top. But what we're more used to seeing is like this blade here where it's wide from top to bottom. However, I do recall being over here for a game night or puzzle night or something of the sort with them at one point, and they had this plant in a really low light situation, and I recommended moving it next to these windows. And so I'm wondering if perhaps some of this wider growth that we're seeing isn't new growth since they moved it over here, and some of this kind of skinny, sad looking growth isn't from before they moved it here, because this plant should love this level of light. Snake plants are pretty versatile, you guys. Like, you can actually put them in a fairly broad number of lighting situations, but they honestly really prefer higher levels of light. So I think this is a good location for this plant. I think we might do a little bit of a checkup on what's going on under the soil in this plant, just because we are still having some kind of like droopiness going on, weird things. I just need to kind of assess and see if I can figure out what's new growth versus old growth so we can really determine how well this plant is doing. But once again, that's going to involve potentially taking this plant out of its pot and stuff. So We're going to be doing all that in the kitchen on my potting mat so that we don't make a mess, but let's see what else we've got going on. Okay, so here in the kitchen, you guys, we have the only other southern facing window, which is unobstructed. You can probably see there's a fence there. This is actually fencing that's hiding their pool equipment right here, and then their regular fences behind that, but that's not really tall enough to be blocking enough light for this to not behave like a southern facing window, if that makes sense. And I can see that most of what's in that window are succulent plants, which is perfect for southern facing windows. However, we also have a succulent arrangement on this platter right here that honestly, not looking as best, if I'm being honest. I hope Chris and Megan don't hate me for saying these things about their plants, but it's not looking great. And it's probably because it is so far away from those windows, you guys, so far away. Like, I can't even, it's crazy. I'm actually surprised it's not looking worse than it is, but you can see that they're quite exfoliated. So this is getting very grown out in large space between the leaves. You should not have, for this type of succulent, that large of spacing between those leaves. We do have a lot of die-off happening here, which could be related to not enough light, could just be perhaps there's been a watering issue going on. But ideally, I would really prefer to see this over there, not right here. That's not to say that they couldn't have a plant on the island here, but I don't think this is the best plant. So we might need to address that situation, but let's go see how everybody in the actual window is looking. Okay, so we do have several aloe over here in the window. This one looking a little bit yellow. Not really sure what's happening with this one. The new growth coming in looks fine, but this is kind of concerning, and it's very soft to the touch, you guys. It is quite mushy feeling. We have dried up ends here, so I think we need to do a little bit of an assessment and maybe rescue on this one. I'm not really sure entirely what is happening with this poor little succulent down here. You can see it is very grown out, obviously. There is new growth on the end. This needs to be beheaded and repotted, honestly, you guys. There is another growth point coming off over there. This could be a situation where maybe Chris beheaded it and like over here and it's waiting to grow back. I don't know. We need to assess this. It's looking a little bit sad, but look at the cute corgi planter. And that reminds me, you guys, we're going to be a little bit restricted in terms of like certain places we won't be able to put plants because they do have a corgi named Theo, and Theo likes to chew on things, and he has his favorite windows, so we can't obstruct his favorite windows, and we can't put plants that could be a problem if he chews on them anywhere where he could chew on them. So we got to keep that in mind today. This succulent looks absolutely fabulous. Look at this one. I feel like we need to get in better light. Oh my gosh, that lighting was so hard over there. This one is looking great. Now it is a little bit grown out, but not unexpected, you guys. This is how my echeveria is looking at home right now. And there are some dead leaves there, but that's not uncommon. It still looks beautiful here. Nothing looks crazy. Could this stand to be beheaded? Yes. Does it absolutely need it right now? No. So we're probably not going to mess with this one. I don't want to like, I don't know how they're going to respond if I like totally F with all of their plants, but we'll see how things go. Maybe we'll mess with it, maybe we won't, but really it looks great if you're looking at it how they had it positioned versus like from the side. So I'm not too mad about this one. And I'm not too mad about this Haworthia over here. Other than these are very dusty. I don't know if you guys can see. There's like dust and dog fur. And some black stuff. I don't even know what that is. I'm gonna have to get up closer with that to find out. I think we might clean these plants for them, give them a little dust down. But oh my gosh, that one's really bad. Okay, anyways, let's get over here to this Haworthia. So all in all, looking pretty good. It looks like it probably got underwatered once or twice. That's probably why those crispy leaf tips are going on there. But there is new growth coming in the center there. It doesn't look like it's struggling other than the fact, hopefully you can tell, you see the things hanging off there? That's hanging from dog fur and dust, right? So I think we are definitely going to try to clean these up a little bit. And other than that though, this one looks fine. Let's pull it over here so we can see it better. Oh my goodness. I don't even know if y'all can see like, okay. Yeah, I'm sure you can see all that. Okay, we got to clean this poor plant. Oh look, this is the flag they bought from me at one of my recent planty pop-up shops. So super cute. All in all, this one not looking too bad. I will say these lower leaves are feeling a little bit mushy. It's a little bit mushy. This is looking really, really dry, and obviously our soil line is not all the way to the top. I'm not sure what is happening here. We are going to have to do something with this. Part of the reason I bought the new plant that I had mentioned that we're going to add into their space today, I'd already been thinking it would be a good plant for them, but I had to stop at Callaway's, our local nursery chain here, to get some more cacti and succulent soil because I knew that Chris had a lot of a lot of succulents, and I didn't have much of that soil left. So I picked up some more, and I'm glad I did because I think we're going to have to do a little bit more repotting than I thought. But all in all, though, this one doesn't look that bad, and this is a good place for it to be living. Okay, let's see what else we got over here. This is another succulent type plant, but not the same type of succulents as we've been looking at. I forget what type this is, but obviously we're a little bit crazy looking here, but I don't know that that is really unusual for this particular type of plant. But it has a more woody stem. Hopefully you can see that. It's not, I don't know how to explain this. It's not, the stem of this is not as succulent as the leaves. That's what I'm trying to get at. So some succulents like that will grow a little bit more spaced out and more like a regular plant. I don't mean regular plant. You know what I mean? More like a non-succulent plant. That soil looks extremely dry right now. I have a feeling I need to water some of these for them, but we will assess that as we go along today too. So yeah, I don't know that we're gonna necessarily mess with this one, but once again, we'll see. This is a cute little fuzzy succulent. Let's get this over here. So hopefully you guys, I don't know how well you can see, but it's got little tiny hairs all over those leaves. That's what's making that kind of whitish coloring look to it, is from the hairs. It's not actually white on the individual leaves. But once again, this is quite grown out. I would vote to behead this one. Once again, I hope Chris isn't going to get all super upset if I go beheading a bunch of his succulents today. But all in all, I mean, it's a healthy plant. It needs a beheading. That's really all there is to it. It needs a little chop down. So we might be doing that today. All right, I don't know what this is. This is not a succulent. But before we get to that, we do have another aloe over here. And this one looks much better than the other one, 100%. Doesn't feel like, it feels kind of soft, but aloe's leaves are kind of soft anyway. They're not like super, super rigid, but we don't have any yellowing going on or anything like that. I will pull it out in a bit anyway, because I just want to make sure none of these, if these need to be watered, we're going to water them. But this, what are we working with here? What do we have? What do we have here? Is a pothos? A golden pothos? I didn't think they had any pothos. But this certainly looks like a golden pothos that is, first of all, very sticky. Why is it sticky? I don't know, you guys, that is super sticky. But yeah, I wonder if somebody gave them a little propagation, because it's just a tiny little plant here. It is super duper dry. We have a little new growth going on there, and we have a mystery plant or weed. Let's just pull that out of there, growing over there. So yeah. Southern facing window, questionable for a pothos. Could cause a problem. Doesn't look like it's caused a problem yet, but I honestly have no idea how long this plant has been here. Okay, I think it's just dust. I got a little worried that we had spider mites, but I think we're okay. So yeah, this is interesting. I just don't know that this is the window that I would put this in, so we might be relocating this one. Okay, that is all of the plants up here, so let's see what else we've got. Okay, so over here we have east-facing windows, and technically this is angled, so I guess it's kind of like a northeast-facing window. So we know east windows are usually perfect for most plants. I say most plants. Not always the best for succulents, and we have more succulents over here. So that is probably, because I don't know, this is probably not intended to be a trailing type succulent. Not that it looks bad trailing, I'm not gonna lie. Kind of digging it. We have another one here. looks pretty good. We have some more Haworthia over here. I will say Haworthia typically do a little bit better in east facing or lower light, not super low light. I'll say they do better in medium light than other succulents in my experience. But I mean, it's not horrible. Like I honestly thought this would be more exfoliated looking than it is. I don't know. I gotta think about this situation. We'll come back to it. All right, so over here in the living room, we have another bank of east-facing windows, nice large windows, and the only plants in this room are in this planter over here, which might look familiar to you because I have this exact same planter in my bedroom. In case you're wondering, we both got this from West Elm, and we have more snake plants over here. So we have some that have been chopped down. We'll come back to that. I think maybe this one's been chopped down. Maybe it's just not been doing well. Not sure about that. This one is looking the best out of the bunch. It's kind of got the same skinny thing going on as the other ones. Now, obviously this is a less light. We're not too far from the windows, you guys. Like, I don't know, what is that? Maybe like 4 feet. That's not horrible from an east-facing window. I feel like these plants will probably prefer a little bit brighter of light, but it's not a horrible spot to have them in, honestly. All right, you guys, we're gonna start off here by assessing some of these plants that I have some minor concerns on. Now, the Dracena. I picked this thing up. First of all, I was happy to see that this is actually in a nursery pot and was just in a cover pot, because my other concern right now is if I start moving their plants around, if I feel like the pots they're planted, since most of them are planted directly into decorative planters, if I feel like the pot it's planted in doesn't go well where we want to move it to, like, I don't want to have to repot all their plants if they don't need repotting. So I was happy to see that at least this one was in a cover pot so we could easily like switch pots if we wanted to. But I was so shocked at how light this was when I picked it up. This thing is bone freaking dry, you guys. And we have dead leaves probably because it is bone freaking dry. I mean, that is a dead, dry, crispy leaf. There is another dead, dry, crispy leaf over here. This explains why we have some of this going on. This plant has just gotten entirely too dry. It's honestly not in the best soil in my opinion either, but let's see how we're looking. Okay. All right, I take it back. It's not horrible. There's enough perlite in there because I would plant a Dracena in my basic mix, you guys. You could also put it in my forest floor mix. As usual, if you are new here and you're not familiar with my soil mixes, I'll link the little 10-minute video to that down in the description below for you. But my basic mix is just premium potting soil and perlite, basically. And I just get concerned sometimes with the store-bought mixes that it's not going to be enough perlite, but this one doesn't look too bad. Now the roots don't look bad down there at the bottom, which is kind of a miracle considering how dry this thing is. Like I was worried we were going to be dealing with desiccated roots, but we're not. And it is definitely bone dry. So we are going to be watering this for sure. Get some of this soil that fell out of here as part of another dead leaf. So at least we don't need to repot this one. I mean, oh my God, like it's going to be hydrophobic, you guys. I'm going to have to like bottom water / top water this. So in case you don't know what I mean, hydrophobic, when soil gets too dry, it has a hard time reabsorbing water. And that is what is going on. I mean, this is gonna happen. I can just tell from touching this soil that it's gonna happen. So when I go to top water this, the water isn't actually gonna go into the soil. It's gonna find all the cracks in the soil and it's just gonna run down and straight out of the pot. So I like to do a combination in these situations of top watering and bottom watering. So here's what I mean by that, which I didn't bring any watering trays, you guys. I didn't even think about it. I might have to like find some makeshift something. Maybe they have a pie plate. Let me see if I can find a pie plate. Hold on. Okay, I found this pie plate, so we're gonna use this to water the plants. I don't even know if they have an actual like watering can. I like can't think of ever seeing one. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to go hunt for some things. One more second, you guys. Okay, guys, if they have a watering can, I don't know where the heck it is. So we're gonna be using this super adorable teapot to water the plants. Oh my gosh, okay, they may just be people who go and water their plants at the sink, which is totally fine. But I want to show you guys what I'm talking about with this. So let's get this onto the pie plate here. And I might have to, let's see if I get this close up enough so that you can see what I am talking about when I go to water this. But I'm pretty much guaranteeing you this water is going to kind of just go straight through and out the bottom. But let's see. Yep. So I barely poured any in there, and it's already just coming straight through the bottom, you guys. And that's what I'm talking about. So this is not going to thoroughly saturate the soil by top watering, but the water is going to collect down in the pie tray here. So I'm going to let the pie tray fill up a bit, and then the water will bottom water. It will reabsorb it up from the bottom up to the top. So I'm just going to keep pouring it all the way around, even though I know it's like running straight through, so we can at least get some of the soil wet. But like I said, most of it's just going to reabsorb from the bottom up. And this is what I mean by like a combination of top and bottom watering. And you won't have to do this every time with a plant like this. It's only if the soil just gets this dry where it's not going to absorb it, because the soil is going to get wet again, like fully dampened from absorbing from the bottom up. And so as long as you don't let a plant get super dry like this again, you won't continually have to do this. Okay, let me move this. Okay, let's see. I think I want to assess some of these snake plant situations next. I'm gonna go grab the one from the dining room. I think we'll just work our way. We'll do all the snake plants next, and then we'll address the succulents. Okay, guys, so like I said, a lot of these are just potted directly in the planters. I don't see any signs on any of these snake plants really of like overwatering or underwatering, so I'm not really concerned that Chris and Megan's... Okay, let me get real with you real quick. I'm going to say Chris and Megan's periodically throughout this video. I will probably say Chris more often than Megan, just because I'm 99% positive that Chris does most of the plant care in the house. I know for a fact that Megan says that she doesn't know what she's doing with plants. I don't think that's 100% accurate either. But I do know that Chris is the one who's probably doing most of the care work. So when I say Chris and Megan, it's really probably mostly Chris, but that's fine. So I don't think they're watering incorrectly. I don't think that's a problem, honestly, on any of these. Okay, maybe that one the aloe that's looking a little crazy, maybe there's a watering problem on that one. But I will say right now, I was just questioning if we needed to water this, and I think we do, because some of these leaves are like completely curling in on themselves, and I can see some wrinkling. This is another thing to note on these plants. And I don't know how well you'll be able to see it. I might have to try to get better close-up footage with my phone. But there are wrinkles, little like pruny wrinkle lines on this leaf here. That is a really good indicator that you definitely need to water your snake plant. That means that it's starting to get dried out. And this whole leaf, you guys, like I don't know if you can tell from there, but this whole leaf, you see it's curled in on itself. It's not flat. Like it's totally curling in on itself. It's because this plant is super duper thirsty. I don't know why they did not water their plants before they left for vacation, because it seems like almost all of them need to be watered. So this does have a drainage hole, so that is good. So I probably should have grabbed more than one pie plate while I was getting those pie plates out. I just want to stick my finger down in there though and make sure I'm not like losing my mind and it's not super wet down there or something and I'm just like crazy, because you guys, sometimes overwatering can cause signs and symptoms in your plant that mimic underwatering. And interestingly enough, it doesn't feel like bone dry, but that is so pruny and curled in on itself. I don't know. I think we're going to water it, you guys, because you know what I think it is? I think it's the side that wasn't... No, this feels really damp. Okay, maybe there are some watering issues happening. I think maybe I needed to have a discussion with them about how they're watering the plants, because let me tell you what this feels like. This feels like somebody who doesn't thoroughly water their plants when they water them, but rather they basically kind of lightly water their plants. So then what happens is parts of the plant dry out way more quickly or never get wet in the first place, and other parts stay damp. I think that's what's happening because this side is bone dry, but I can go a few inches down on this side and it feels damp. So that might also account for why all the leaves that look like they're underwater are on this side of the plant. Oh my goodness. I don't even know, you guys. Okay, I got a butter knife because I kind of want to take it out of its pot, you guys. That is the other thing that really is frustrating about planting directly into decorative planters is it's harder to get the plant out for me to just check and see what's going on to kind of like rescue the plant. Like, ugh, I really don't want to have to take it out, but I really want to see what's happening. So let's see. And the funny thing is this side that I was saying is super dry. This side is like pulled away. Like I can like tug like this and the whole plant is coming up. But on this side, I can't do that. Ooh, have y'all heard that shrill squeak? That was the stool I was sitting on. Sorry about that. Not trying to hurt anybody's ears intentionally. Okay, let's see if we can get it out. Okay, we don't have a ton of roots going on here. I don't know how long it's been in this pot. This is not like the most ideal soil situation, honestly. And we do seem to have a little bit of root rot. Okay, this soil, you guys, looks like kind of highly peaty-based soil. It doesn't look like it has a super large amount of drainage. Just looks kind of like a premium potting soil, not with a lot of perlite added. This is like not an ideal situation for this plant. And I feel like they've had this plant for at least a few years, and it's probably, I mean, we should see more roots than this is what I'm getting at for how long I think they've had this plant. I think we're gonna do a full repot. Oh my God, I feel like this is gonna turn into like a massive repotting video. Honestly, you guys. Oh, there's mold. I don't know how well you guys are. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can tilt you down. I don't know how well you're gonna be able to see that, but there is some whitish moldiness going on there. Okay, get you tilted back up. We are definitely going to repot this. Let me get all the soil off of this real quick and then I'll catch back up with you. Oh my gosh, you guys, look at that. All that gray, that is all just straight up mold. Mold, because this is not a well enough draining soil for this plant. Oh my goodness. Oh, absolutely horrible. Whew, okay, you guys, I ended up taking it outside and taking the hose to it to get the rest of the soil off because it was just so dry. I was just worried I was gonna pull off too many of the roots. And of course it is super freaking windy today, so now my pants are like soaking wet, but that's okay. I got most of the soil off, not all of it, but enough that it's not gonna be, or shouldn't be a problem once we put it into the cacti and succulent soil. Now I'm just checking real quick for the root rot stuff. Good news is the root rot wasn't too bad. It was pretty much restricted mostly, well, there's a little bit right there, mostly to the bottom roots, or the roots at the very bottom of the pot, I guess I should say. I'm not, there's some there too. I was gonna say I'm not crazy concerned about trying to remove it all because I was thinking we just water it after we repot it with my root rot treatment, which I didn't bring hydrogen peroxide with me because I didn't know that we were gonna be in this situation. Honestly, nothing I've ever seen with their plants when I've been at their house has suggested root rot. And it's really minor. It's not like crazy situation on here. So we might still be able to get away with that. All right, you guys, I had picked up this pot as a potential pot to repot the new plant I got them into, but I think this is probably gonna be our best option for this plant because of the amount of roots that are left. Well, first of all, the number of plants that are here are significant. So this will not fit in a 6-inch pot. This is technically, it says it's a 7.9-inch pot, so it's almost an 8-inch pot. Now, this is not gonna be like Normally, if we were just, if we were just up potting a plant or just repotting a plant standard, I would say go bigger than this. But because this is kind of a recovery situation, I think we're just going to do this for now. And then, yes, they're potentially going to have to repot this sometime this year. But I think this is better because the only, like the next size up, hold on, is this. And this is just going to be, for a plant that's rehabbing, this is overkill. So we're just going to go into this pot. So I've got my bucket of cacti and succulent soil here. We still have roots like falling off, but not surprising given the situation. So I'm just going to get this potted up in here, and then we're going to move on to our next snake plant, which I have a hunch they're all going to be like this. All right, you guys, we've got this one all potted back up. I am not finding hydrogen peroxide in any of the places I would expect to find hydrogen peroxide. So I'm probably gonna have to go get some hydrogen peroxide, but I'm debating on whether I wanna run out and do that right now or if I wanna just keep seeing what we're working with the other snake plants first, because that might dictate how much hydrogen peroxide I need to buy. But we are still going to put this, I think this will still fit in its cover pot, or its decorative pot, I guess I should say, which will now be a cover pot. Oh, that fits, like it sits perfectly there. And I don't think that looks horrible having just that white on top. So yay for that. Okay, let me set this one aside and let me grab our next plant. Okay, here's the plan, you guys, because I was not anticipating what I found in that plant. So if I am finding this in all the other snake plants, I'm not gonna make you guys watch me repot every single one of them. So we're just gonna check what's going on. We're gonna see if there's root rot. I'm gonna show you if there's mold. And then I'm just gonna like plow through repotting it and show you when I'm done. And then we'll move on to the next plants. Otherwise, this is going to take all day. Well, I mean, it's going to take all day anyway, for me, I'm pretty sure. But for you, I don't want you to have to be watching this video all freaking day. So let me just grab our next ones and fingers crossed, maybe the situation's not as bad. Okay, I figured we'd do the second biggest one next. Ooh, Jesus, so dusty. Oh my goodness. I need to have a serious conversation with them about dusting their poor plants. All right, once again, my plan was not to have to take all the plants out of the pots, but since this kind of looks like it might be in the same soil, and there's hardly any soil in here, you guys, like, I don't know. I mean, the plant is, what I mean by that is the plant is planted far, far down in there. Can you see that? Like, look over here. This is like all pot right here. So that is way, way, way down in the bottom there. Now, the good news is I can actually see roots on the surface. Not that that necessarily is good. That might mean it needs a repot, or just that there's just not enough soil in here. But at least I know there's a lot of, like, potentially a lot of roots going on because of what I can see on the surface here. But let's just see what we got. Other than a lot of dust, because there's definitely a lot of dust. Oh, we've got desiccated roots, that's for sure. All right, we have definitely landed in an underwatering household, which, you know what? At least they have mostly succulent or succulent-esque plants, because those are great for an underwaterer. That would be a nightmare for an overwaterer. But this is what I'm talking about. These are completely dried up, desiccated roots from underwatering. This soil is a little bit chunkier, honestly. It's got a lot more orchid bark in it. I don't know if you guys can tell. Hopefully you can tell. It is a little bit chunkier. So this isn't like absolutely horrible soil. It is a little bit root bound, honestly, you guys. It's not like horribly root bound. But I think if we want to give this its best shot, and it's definitely damp, so it's not in need of being watered right now, but all these desiccated roots, you guys, oh my goodness. All right, we're gonna just go ahead and repot it anyway into cacti and succulent soil, because I mean, that's just gonna be the better soil for it, honestly. And other than the fact that we have so many roots, you guys, that are just desiccated, they're just dried and falling off. Ugh. I really wish I had brought clear pots, not that I have enough clear pots to repot all of their plants into. And the only way I would be able to get some today, I would have to drive like so far away to get them. I know where I could go. I could go to Peta's Planters. Peta's Planters has clear pots, but they are far, far, far away from me, you guys. So that's probably not happening. I mean, I wish I had the clear pots because it would just be easier for them to be able to see when they need to water the plants, as it were. But all right, like I said, I'm just gonna get all this off. If I discover anything else noteworthy, I will let you know. And then I'm gonna get it potted up. I don't know what size pot yet. We'll see in a second. All right, you guys, I got most of the soil out of here. There's still some big old chunks of bark and stuff. I'm not worried about that because that's just gonna help with the drainage situation. And then I think I removed most of the desiccated roots. Not that one. Oh, not that one. Okay, I need to make sure that I get the rest of the desiccated roots off of here so that they don't rot and then we have a dry rot situation going on. So I'm gonna get those off real quick and then we're gonna pot this back up. Honestly, guys, I keep going back and forth about whether to just pot this into a nursery pot or pot it back into their decorative planter. Oh my gosh, you guys. Okay, we are definitely going into the nursery pot. Like, I was not that concerned about them. I didn't even look at the other one. Okay, I wasn't that concerned about it being potted directly in this because drainage hole, but no. Do you see that? You see how that drainage hole is plugged up? It looks like it's epoxy. Like, it looks like one of them put, I say one of them, it was probably Chris. It looks like he put epoxy. I don't even know if you guys are gonna be able to see it down in there. That's what it looks like. Either that or he put something flat and then epoxied over it, which I totally get because he probably didn't want it dripping on his floor because that can happen with that planter, but not when you're directly potting into this. No, 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 no. Okay, no, okay. Another problem. All right, definitely going with the nursery pot now that I discovered that, and I am going to double check that first plant's decorative pot because I saw it had a drainage hole, but I didn't look to see if it had been plugged up. Okay, all kinds of fun discoveries. All right, you guys, this one is good to go. I'm happy that this one was not in like as bad of a situation as the other one. And the funny thing is the other one is now in brighter light, but I can't remember how long ago I told them to move that to that brighter spot. So a lot of what we might have been seeing wrong with the first one could also have started when it was in lower light and it just wasn't able to recoup and recover after being moved to brighter light. But I think this one in general, what I'm seeing, like I think it's probably okay to leave it in that east facing window. Just gonna pull off some of the dead stuff here so it's not causing a problem. So we'll probably leave it in the same spot, but here's another thing, you guys. So I am not, especially since we are rehabbing these plants, I'm not going to leave them in the spots that we're gonna put them in while Chris and Megan are gone. Because as you saw, most of the windows are closed, the blinds. And with rehabbing these plants, they need as much light as they can get right now. So what I'm gonna do is we're going to talk about where we're gonna leave them. I'm gonna put them, I mean, where they're gonna live permanently or where I think they should live permanently. We're gonna put them in those spots and I'm gonna show you how it looks. But then I'm gonna move them all to by the window in the kitchen, by the sink, since that is nice bright light for them. And then what I'll do is I'll come back over here the day before they get back and I'll move them into their permanent homes, so it'll be nicely styled when they return. But I just want these plants to have like adequate light in the meantime. So this one does not look like it's been chopped back. It is only 2 plants in there. This is a different type of snake plant than the others, as you can probably see, but obviously this one is not doing well at all. So we are going to definitely take this one out. It is in the chunkier soil too, so that's at least promising. But once again, the drainage hole has been plugged. And just a reminder, you guys, you can grow in no drainage, but it's tricky. Like, it's really tricky. And the larger your plant gets, the trickier it is. And it's even more tricky if you aren't in something clear. So for example, hold on. This is in no drainage. There is no drainage hole for this plant, but it's clear. So when Chris is watering this, he can see where the water level is coming up to and he can stop. When you're looking at something like this, you can't see, right? And so honestly, you guys, without, maybe I should do a whole separate video on growing in no drainage, even though I still, I highly don't recommend it. Like I said, I have a few succulents, 2, Actually, no, I only have one succulent growing in no drainage now. It's been growing in no drainage for almost 4 years. So like I said, you can do it, but I don't recommend doing it if you don't have to do it. Honestly, that's just where I'm at. So let's just go ahead and get this one out, and hopefully things aren't absolutely horrible. I'm gonna put this way far away because I don't want it to get like wet and ruined or anything. Okay, I need my butter knife. But good news is, like I said, at least these are in that chunkier soil mix, which is, it really looks mostly like orchid bark, which isn't absolutely horrible, but honestly, snake plants, they're very succulent. They behave a lot like a succulent. And so they really want something more sandy. It's still well draining. I mean, well draining is like your most important thing, but for succulents and succulent type plants, that sandy mixture is well draining, but also retains enough moisture when you initially water the plant for the plant to take up and store what it needs and then dry out real quickly. This is going to retain moisture for a little bit longer, in my experience, than the sandy mixes, which is why I'm just hesitant. Okay, yeah, here's the problem. We got dried up desiccated roots again. It is bone freaking dry, you guys. That's why we have the shriveled look, which hopefully you can see how shriveled this is. Can you see all those like shrivel lines? Like the pruny lines? Hopefully it's reading okay on camera. Now, good news is it's not moldy. I'm so happy that we are not seeing as much mold as we were seeing on that first plant. Still kind of has a weird smell to it though, but that could be because these roots are they're dry rotted. Look at this, you guys. I'm not pulling to the point that they're breaking off. Like I'm not forcefully breaking them off. They are just dead. They are dry and they are dead because this plant has not been watered enough. Oh, my essential trimmers are getting like worse right now, you guys, because I'm kind of like, the stool isn't quite tall enough. It needs to be a little bit taller. So I'm kind of doing this and it's starting to make my neck and my shoulders hurt, which is causing my hands to shake more than they normally do just because I have essential trimmers. So bear with me if I seem extra shaky today. I haven't even had any like caffeine today. So it's not like sometimes where I film in the morning and I've just had coffee and I can't stop shaking while I'm showing you things. But all right. Oh man. This is so sad. I'm really worried about this one, you guys. All right, I'm gonna go hose the rest of this soil off and see, if any of these roots are salvageable. All right, you guys, I got all of the soil off, but this is mostly just desiccated root, but look at this, you guys. You see this right here? This is actually mushy, like slimy, icky, mushy. And I am thinking it looks like it's probably because it just, I think, oh, look at that. That is nasty. You should not be seeing gray like that on the inside of a stem. I think it's because it just got completely dried up and then the water made it rot. So, oh my goodness. All right. I'm gonna go trim the rotted nastiness off of this. Okay, you guys, so this is all that we have left. So I had to remove more than I thought, but this root part seems healthy, but this really is not enough to go into soil. So I found a cute little jar. I put some water in there. We're gonna pop it in there. Now I did have to cut off that rotted spot, and normally I would want that to callus over a little bit before we put it into water, but then that's gonna kill off all these other roots. So I'm hoping we can get away with just putting it straight into water. I really need hydrogen peroxide, but for now it's just going to hang out in here, and then I'll get hydrogen peroxide and I'll give it a thorough root rot treatment first, and then I'll put it into fresh water in here and I will put a few drops of hydrogen peroxide in this as well. All right, let's just see what we're working with here. And I'm guessing it's going to be a similar situation, but hopefully maybe the roots are in better shape than that last one. More like that second one we did. That second one we did was in the best shape so far. So, Chris, did you propagate this? I'm questioning now if he was trying to propagate into the... Okay, I think... I don't know. I don't really know. This screams to me like I cut plants and stuck them in here to propagate them, except this is weird. Like I've never seen anybody like would cut, like if you're gonna cut here, you normally would have roots down there. So if that is what he was doing, I feel bad that I'm kind of undoing this. But at the same time, like, I mean, this is just dead. I don't think these are all propagations. One of these has to be a part of a plant. Okay, that does look kind of like a propagation, right? But here's the thing, you guys, this is too much soil. This is way too big of a pot and too much soil to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things in there that barely have any roots. That is not good. That is not conducive to keeping a plant alive. But look at that, we do have some new growth going there. Maybe this is all propagations from another one of the plants, but none of the other plants look like they've been cut. I don't know, you guys. Like, part of me is like, I feel bad if I'm just messing up his propagation thing right now, but at the same time, it's in too big of a pot. So I'm gonna get these rinsed off, make sure the roots look healthy, and then we're gonna put them in a much smaller pot. Okay, good news, you guys. We do have roots on all of these, and they are at least healthy roots. But once again, that was just entirely too much soil for these to be in. The soil like wouldn't even come out of the bottom of the pot because it was so saturated compared to the rest of the soil. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put these into cacti and succulent soil again in a little 4-inch pot. This just needs to be in a smaller pot until this develops more roots. So I'm gonna get that done real quick, and then I think we will officially be done with the snake plants. All right, you guys, I've got this all potted up in this 4-inch pot, so this is gonna be much better. Put it on a little plate so it's not dripping water everywhere. And like I said, I'm just gonna put this in the window over the sink so that it gets a decent amount of light while they're gone. So let me set that aside, and then I think what we're gonna do is we're just gonna finish the plants that I know need, or suspect need, a rehab. So we know this aloe is not looking right. I mean, that is just not looking right, you guys. I don't even know. Like, are there some aloes that are like pastel-y like that? I'm pretty sure this wasn't this color when they got this. So let's just see. And this is one of those things, back to that video I talked about before where I explained picking pots for your plants. Don't do this. Please don't do this. Especially don't do this to me if I was to ever potentially come to your home to do a planty takeover, because this pot is a shape. I mean, it's like an orb, you guys, trying to get a plant out of here. Not gonna be fun, all right? So I don't even know, like, ugh. This is why I don't plant directly into decorative pots. So I want to get this out of here if for no other reason than the longer it's in here and the more rooted it gets in here, the harder it's going to be for them to ever repot it without like totally destroying the roots to get it out of here. Because, I mean, this is just nuts, you guys. So what I'm going to have to do here is as I pull it out, or try to pull it out, I guess I should say, I'm going to use the butter knife to knock some of this soil off, and then I'm going to use it to knock some of the soil off down on the other side of it in the base of the pot so that I can eventually, hopefully, get the thing out of here. I mean, these pots are super cute, right, you guys? Like, it's a super cute pot. I understand why they got it, wanted to plant this in here, but people who design these pots like should put a disclaimer, like, don't pot directly into this pot. You're never going to be able to get your plant out. Good news is this doesn't seem super rooted, so it's fairly easy to get this one out at this point. But like I said, if this was a year or more from now and this thing was more thoroughly rooted, trying to get it out of here would be an even bigger nightmare. And you would probably end up either having to break the pot or completely tear up the roots, which I already kind of feel like is happening slightly. Oh, I thought we were doing good down on the bottom, you guys, trying to get it out, but maybe we're not doing as well as I thought. Yeah, it's nicely rooted on the bottom. as you're about to see, but there's no way in hell I'm getting it out of here without potentially messing some of that up, because look at that. All right, that went better than it could have. We definitely lost some roots. This definitely isn't in horrible soil. It's pretty chunky. This soil actually feels a little bit sandy. That's good. Oh, there is some rot. There's dry rot all up here at the top. That's got a ton. I don't even know if you can tell, but there's a ton of roots in that are just dead. So here's what it looks like. It looks like there's been some dry rot, but it hasn't affected all of the roots. However, it does look like all the roots on this side dry rotted, and all the roots on this side didn't dry rot. So I don't know if this is a situation, once again, where the plant's been getting watered. Well, I say that, but these are desiccated, dried up. But this might be a situation where the plant wasn't getting evenly watered. Let me try and get all of this off and we'll see what we're working with. Okay, you guys, the big old massive roots, like, it just came off. So I don't know, I think it's just desiccated in certain points. Like, well, that's not right, where that's super dark and funky. So I think that was the main issue. There is just some dry rot. That's dry rot. That's dry rot. We do have some healthy roots though, but once again, we need to go into a much smaller pot, which is kind of funny because the plant itself looks kind of big, right? Let me get some of this dried stuff off of here. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely just what we're gonna need to do. So good news is there is healthy root here. We might see a slight decline or some leaf loss up here, just because there is so much more up top than there is down here. But succulents are pretty resilient in that regard, so maybe not. But we're just gonna get this into cacti and succulent soil once again, in a 4-inch pot most likely. Good news is I apparently brought in a 4-inch pot. So I'm gonna get this potted up, and then I think we're gonna move on to this guy next. Okay, so I've got this potted up in this 4-inch pot here. Now, in order for it to go back into that cute cover pot, I need something to elevate it, and I don't have anything short enough. Like, I need something like about this tall to put in the bottom, or else like this isn't gonna work because the leaves span out so much. I think I have something at home that I can use, so I'll just bring it when I come back to put the plants in their permanent homes the day before Chris and Megan get back, but feeling much better about this. I'm gonna put it up by the sink, and then we'll start in on this next one. All right, you guys, I am starting to get a little bit worn out from all of this. I also didn't realize that this corgi had plants in it that don't really look alive. These pretty much look dead. I mean, yeah, let's just pull this out, why don't we? Dead. And once again, this is not ideal. Like, I can't get it out. But they're dead, so we're just gonna yank and be done with it, because it's dead. It's dead. We're just gonna clear out this little planter for them. And unfortunately, as cute as this little planter is, you have this problem because it's actually hollow up through the head. So yeah, pain in the butt to get a plant out of, but also, luckily, I brought a tiny pot that I can use to demonstrate the other issue with this to you. Come on. Come out. All right, woohoo, that is out. The other problem is this is not big enough for a 2-inch pot. Please hold. Okay, standard 2-inch pot won't fit in here. So this is just not a good idea for a planter. I mean, it's super cute, don't get me wrong, but illogical is what this is. The other one, I was gonna say I think it's better, but I think it's hollow all the way over here. And we know that this plant is semi-alive, but we also know there is like a total dead bit right here. So let's just pull that out. And the part that's alive wasn't even, I mean, it was like hanging on by a thread. There's not even any roots on that. It basically was surviving from its aerial roots up here, So this definitely needs to be repotted. Now there is another little baby plant in here that might be okay. Let me just pinch some of the soil out from this side, avoiding that side until hopefully I can pull this out without damaging anything. Okay, oops, we got it. But once again, not looking its best. But that's okay because it's a succulent and it will root again really quickly if we just stick these heads into some new soil. But, oh yeah, this one goes all the way back. Why? Why did they do this? And of course the 2-inch pot won't fit in there. Oh my goodness. Okay. We're just going to actually plant these into this little 2-inch pot and then, or maybe we want to do something. What do we want to do? Maybe we should combine them. Hold on. So here was my thought, you guys, like this is just a tiny little plant in a big old pot, probably too big for it, honestly. And oh my goodness. Okay, there's like a baby Haworthia in here that is covered by this moss. What is happening here? Okay, we got a bunch of moss. Is there another? There's like other types of succulents in here, but you can't even see them. Can you even see it on camera? There's like a little one down there. There's a Haworthia over here. So this is kind of already a mixture of succulents in a way too big pot. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. I'm just gonna set those in there for now. I think we're going to revamp this as a combined succulent situation. Move the moss over here. After we take care of something else. Okay, I don't even know. I don't even know what's happening anymore. I feel like we're also starting to lose light. It's now almost 3 o'clock. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's look at this one that is so dirty, dusty. It definitely needs cleaning, but this is the one that also, reminder, the soil level is like way off down in there. So I just want to get this out. I don't even think I'm going to need a butter knife. Nope. It's just going to come out, hopefully. No drainage, no drainage, no drainage. No roots that I can see around in here. It is damp. It's in sandy soil. It's not in horrible soil. That's weird though that it's kind of damp, but it looks totally shriveled. Like, can you guys see how shriveled that leaf looks? Like, that's not good. Oh, and I can see where, you see how that's like where the original soil was, and this is just formed around it. Ooh! Okay. Okay. There's like a maggot in there. Ooh. Ooh, it's totally a maggot. Okay, hold on. I gotta take that outside. I can't with that. I can't with that. Oh my goodness, you guys. Okay, that was not like a fun surprise. Also, maybe not a maggot, but very similar looking to a maggot, which is a first for me. First time I've come across something like that in a plant before. So that was fun, not. All right, I feel like I am losing light rapidly in here. All right, you guys, it's kind of hard to tell what's going on. It looks like there's some rotted roots, but it also looks like there's some new roots developing. It's also in a pot with no drainage. It's pretty damp. It's really weird though too, because this is all dry up here because there's this big old soil gap, and this is all super like damp down here, which is not good. So it needs a soil top off at the very least, but I also am hesitant to stick it back into a no drainage situation. Okay, hold on. Let me grab my last 6-inch nursery pot. Let's see if this will even, of course it won't fit in here. God forbid. Let's see, what else they got going on for pots? All right, we're gonna wait on this one. I don't know. I wish I had a pot that was just a little bit, like a 5-inch pot is really what I need. I don't know, we're gonna wait on that one. All right, you know what I want to do real quick, because I might have to run out and get another nursery pot anyway, and then maybe I could find something for that. But I want to go ahead and show you the plant that I got them, the new plant that I got them, which is a Raven ZZ plant, because you guys know I absolutely love my Raven ZZ plants. It is also a really good plant for underwaterers. It has similar care requirements to the snake plants that we were looking at earlier. So I think this would be a good plant for them. Now, this thing is busting this pot up. Look at this. It is totally busting its way out of this pot. So we've got to repot this. Also, it's not in my favorite type of soil. Let me now try to locate some scissors so that we can get this cut off. All right, let's see if we can get, know what the best way to go through this is. Perhaps this way. Okay. So we can get this out of here. I'm really glad I found one of these, you guys, because I have not seen them in stores in a hot minute, and I was kind of worried I wasn't going to be able to find one. And I didn't really have time to be ordering one online and hoping it gets here in time. So this is not insanely root bound. So my Raven ZZ, when I bought it, it was busting out of the pot like that as well, but it was massively root bound on top of that. So that's why I took mine up to an 8-inch pot, but this is like not even remotely root bound. So this doesn't really need to go up to an 8-inch pot. Unfortunately, that means it really needs to go into that white nursery pot that I bought specifically for this, that we ended up using for one of the snake plants. So I'm gonna have to go buy another one of those. But also, just so you can see, this is like super kind of cocoa cory looking soil, and these plants really prefer a cacti and succulent soil. That's what mine's in, and it's done fabulously. So I definitely want to repot this, but I'm gonna have to run out real quick and go get another one of those pots. Actually, you guys, we are starting to lose a lot of light. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna come back tomorrow and finish up the rest of the things that I want to do, because it's just by the time I run to the store and get back, we're gonna have lost even more light. So I just think that's the best thing at this point, because once again, I did not anticipate how much we were going to have to be doing today. So I will see you in a split second for you and tomorrow for me. All right, you guys, welcome to day 2 of what has turned into quite the planty rescue mission. So I did get another one of these pots to use for the Raven ZZ plant. I did just get done removing all of the soil that was on it off of it, because it was just not the right kind of soil for it. There were a lot of dead, like desiccated roots on this, which is better than a ZZ plant having been overwatered. But as you can see, we have plenty of nice, beautiful roots. So I'm just gonna get this potted up in the same cacti and succulent soil that we've been using real quick, and then we'll move on to some of the other plants that we still need to assess and rescue. Okay, you guys, I've got our Raven ZZ plant squared away here. Now, regarding what we think is a golden pothos over here, like I said, this is just what looks like kind of a propagation right now. It's not in horrible looking soil. So I kind of, and we don't see anything going really wrong with it. So I don't think we need to take it out of the pot or anything, but you guys, this soil is bone dry, like through the drainage hole, I can tell it's bone dry. So we're gonna water this real quick. Okay, this plant should be a lot happier now. Okay, I had to go find a jacket to borrow because it is quite chilly in here. All right, let's figure out what we're gonna do with this, because like I'm still just really confused. So we have this moss just hanging out in the top, like I said, but it was hiding a little Haworthia, two little, well, one of these might be an Echeveria, but, and then we have these two that we took out of the little corgi planters that I'm still not sure what we're doing with. So let me just see what we got going here. What is this? Okay, so at some point something, some kind of tag or sign was in here and just the stick is left. Let's see, we've got a crystal in here. All kinds of fun discoveries. No drainage hole. Ugh. I mean, this is just laying on top, this little plant right here. Little bits of roots going on it, but not even rooted in there. the Haworthia is rooted. This is, if I can pull it out like that, it is not well rooted. So once again, I don't know if this is just like a propagation combo pot or if this is, this looks rotted. So I'm guessing maybe it's not a propagation pot, but let's see what we can do here. Yeah, that's not looking great. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna behead this. We're gonna cut the top of it off since it's grown out anyway. Let me go grab my snips. Okay, so I'm gonna pull, there's some dead leaves on here. We're just gonna get those off of there and we are just going to cut it right about here. Oops. Now, because this is a succulent, this end needs to callus over and become hard before we put it into the soil. So I'm gonna leave this one sitting out until I come back to reposition the plants the day before they get back. And I'm gonna explain to you what we're gonna do with all of this right now. And then what I'll do is when I do it, when I come back in a few days, I will splice in some footage to show you what it ends up looking like. Okay, the Haworthia was not fully rooted in there either, as you can see here. So that's gonna have to get repotted up. Let me see how this, oh yeah, there's rot on that. So let's cut that off. I'm just gonna go ahead and cut the bottom chunk of that off because there's rot. There is a nice root starting on here. So that's good. Okay, so we've got that guy and that guy. Now let me see if anything else is hiding in this pot. Let's just dump it out. Nope, nothing else is hiding in that pot, so that is good. I will save the moss, of course, and the crystal over there. Okay, here's what I think we're gonna do. We are going to do the same thing with these little ones that came out of the corgis. We're gonna behead these a little bit because they're just a little bit too long for what we're going to do with them, and they're gonna need to callus over as well. So, there we go. And then this one actually already has some roots on it. They're gonna be hard to see. Well, I guess they're not that hard to see on camera there. So it already has some roots on it at a height that will work for us. So that one is good to go. Okay, so what I think I'm gonna do, since these are just babies, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I kind of don't want to put the Haworthia in with the other ones. I don't know, I just don't, style-wise, personal opinion, I don't like how Haworthias look when you combine them with like Echeveria and Graptoveria type succulents. So I think what we might do is pot this one up separately, and since the part of this that I cut off is not super thick, I'm not that worried about letting it callus over. It's like as thin as the root that we're seeing, and there is a root on there, and I don't want that root to dry up while waiting for the end of this to callus over, but it's so small, I think it'll be okay. So I think what we might do is I have this little 2-inch pot here. I think we might just put the Haworthia by itself in this little 2-inch pot. I think I'm gonna have to grab a new bag of the cacti, of the cacti and succulent soil. 1 second. Okay, I've got this filled up with some cacti and succulent soil. We are just going to stick this little Haworthia down in there. I'm just tamping the soil down lightly around it to get it to stabilize. And then I will give this a water down before I leave today, and I will leave it up by the sink so that it is in nice bright light. Okay, I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna combine all of these into a little 3-inch pot and just have a array of succulents. But once again, I need to let those 3 that we beheaded dry out, but this one that we have roots on, I want to go ahead and get it in there. So Let me figure out where I put my 3-inch pots. Okay, so once again, we just got the cacti and succulent soil in there. I think since all of these are kind of like reddish, except for that green one, I think I want to put the green one. Hold on. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the green one in the back here and then the little red ones in the front. But once again, we're only going to put one of the red ones in right now. And since I think this one is it's a slightly different type than the other red ones, I'm going to put this one in the front. And so it'll be this one in the front and then the 2 matching red ones flanking behind it. I need something to poke a hole, so this little thing that we pulled out of here is being very useful right now because I didn't bring my chopstick. And now, of course, you guys, like if they decide they want to separate these out later on at a future date, they can. That's no big deal. But for now, I think this is just what we're going to do. Okay, so that can hang out. Okay. I don't even remember what I said yesterday. It was such a long day, you guys. Over here, I don't remember if I discussed this with you or not, but I think what we're going to do is instead of, I say this, but oh no. Just when I think I'm going to be like, oh, we're just going to move it by the window because like I said, it's not getting enough light living here on the island, but then this just like, there's no roots or anything on that. That's rot at the end of that. So yeah, no, we're rehabbing. Everything's a rehab. Like, I don't even know. I'm surprised these plants don't just look dead for all the surprises we've been finding everywhere. Okay, we got to cut off the rot on this. And then once again, this is going to have to callus over. So whatever I decide I'm going to do with this is going to have to happen when I come back. Oh, this poor plant. Really, the leaves do not feel good at all. That might not make it, but we'll try. We will try. Oh yeah, same thing over here. So this is a situation that almost looks like overwatering. There is a drainage hole. I mean, that's promising, but obviously this is rotted on the end, like it's squishy. It's not good. So there's also the possibility that this got severely underwatered and it was dry rot that happened. I don't know. Okay. Put those in the group of needs to callus over. Maybe those were part of this and they just cut them off and stuck them in the bottom as beheading them, which is actually entirely, I think that might actually be what happened now that I'm looking at this. Yep, I think that's probably what happened, but they weren't rooting, they were rotting. So that was not the best way to go about this. These seem healthy and well-rooted. And I can see a healthy root through the drainage hole. So I think that's what happened here, you guys. I think these were up on these dead looking stalks here and they were cut off and just stuck in the soil, but that soil is like too damp for them. So these are feeling really rooted. So we're just gonna leave that like that because these, I don't know how long ago that happened that they cut these off. So these could sprout off new growth. And like I said, other than the fact that these look atoliated because they're not close enough to a light source, they feel healthy and they look healthy. They definitely need to be dusted, but that's a whole nother story. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna move this into the window. And I think we're gonna move the pothos somewhere else, so that will free up space for this. So that's what's happening with that. Okay, I think we only have one more plant to address, and I'm still not 100% certain what we're gonna do with it, but let me grab it. Actually, real quick, you guys, I almost forgot. I did bring one of these from home and flipped it upside down and put it into this pot so that we could elevate the new pot that we put this aloe vera in, so that we could put this back in their cute little decorative pot here. You can see like the nursery pot right here in the front a little bit, but there's nothing I can really do about that because these leaves are gonna hit down. I mean, they can move this to a different cover pot if they want and put a different plant in here because now they have that luxury because we put everything in nursery pots for them so they can rearrange till their heart's content. But I'm glad I remembered I had some of these at home so that we could at least do this. Okay, well, I didn't grab the plant that I thought I was gonna grab because I forgot about this one. So this one does have a lot of like dead leaves here. We're gonna go ahead and pull those off of here real quick. I was thinking about just letting this one be, even though it does look like it needs to be beheaded. But then I noticed that, first of all, the soil is dry AF, but also there is no drainage hole. So since it needs to be beheaded, I mean, come on, it needs to be beheaded. We're just gonna do it. We're just gonna do it. I mean, this has now become like, these are my plants and we're just gonna do whatever we wanna do. That's kind of how I feel about this. Okay, so there we go. We have beheaded it. It is gonna sit out with our other ones to get calloused over, but I'm going to leave it separate, like when I pot it back up, because a 2-inch pot will fit perfectly in this. I want to just put that in here as a cover pot because once again, the shape of this pot also is not conducive to repotting and removing a plant, because what's happening right now is all these roots are getting torn off. So, all right, good news is the roots on this look healthy. So what we'll do with this, looks like there's a dead part of another plant in there. But yeah, the roots on here don't look bad, but it's bone freaking dry. So what we're gonna do, first of all, is try to get whatever's left in here and the roots that got ripped off in the process out of here. Yay. Okay, so since this has good roots and should be able to grow back, let me grab another 3-inch pot. And you guys, I apologize if the mic, if weird noises are happening with the mic. I didn't think about when I picked this shirt that this mic just kind of hangs and wobbles a lot, so hopefully I'm not like hitting it a bunch. My apologies if I am. Okay. Oh, that's too much rooty weirdness in there. I was hoping we could just use some of that soil, because I hate trying to get soil like this, especially when it's bone dry, off of really fine roots like this, because you end up just tearing up a bunch of the roots and it's not cool. But this soil is, it doesn't look horrible, so I think what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna put a little bit of the cacti and succulent soil that I brought in the bottom of this, and then we will put that in and top it kind of off with that, and I think it'll be okay. And then hopefully new growth will come off of this. We're actually, let me finish filling this real quick, and then we're gonna chop this down a little bit further. Okay, so we don't want it to start growing again from up here and already look long. So we're gonna go ahead and poop off of there. And then I will water this down and put it up by the sink. Okay. I don't think I've talked about like the other aloe. Let me just go grab the plants we haven't really addressed yet, but some of them I don't think we're gonna do anything. All right, guys, so I know you can't see me, but this aloe right here looks pretty healthy. It's definitely dusty, but it doesn't look unhappy, and there's a pup in the pot. So hopefully you guys can see right down there, there is another plant growing in there. So I think this plant is mostly okay. This pot does not have a drainage hole. I think I'm just gonna talk to them when they get back about, it would probably be a good idea to repot this into something with drainage. Also, this is another awkwardly shaped pot, but all in all, it seems okay, and it's kind of damp in there, so it doesn't need watering. So what I'll probably do is just try to dust the leaves off a little bit, but other than that, I think this aloe is okay for now. Now, this plant is bone freaking dry. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, this plant is not doing horrible, even though, like I mentioned, it looks kind of, I'm just gonna pull off these dead leaves here. It looks kind of crazy because it's just a different type of succulent, but it's not looking like crazy unhealthy. It just needs water. So I'm gonna water this and try to get some of the cobwebbiness off of it, and then that's all we're gonna do with that one. So then we've got the other one that's in one of these, and so this one, once again, we could behead it, but it's not horrible. I'm gonna pull off the dead leaves here at the base, but I don't think it needs, I mean, it doesn't have to be beheaded, right? And we know that these ones that are in these clear glass containers, they're doing pretty well with, probably because they can actually see the soil and make sure that it needs to be watered, but just easier for them to know when it's dried out and whatnot. So I don't really feel the need to behead this one. It's not super crazy. It doesn't just absolutely need it yet. But once again, it is looking bone dry. The the leaves, you guys know what I'm trying to say. They feel pretty firm still, so I'm probably not going to water this just yet, but when I come back in a few days, I will see if they're still filling nice and firm. If they're not, then I will water this one. But other than that, I think we're going to let that one be. Now, this Haworthia, like I said, was looking okay. It does have some dry, crispy ends on it, like it's been underwatered at some point. But other than that, like it feels okay. Now, once again, there is no drainage hole in this pot. Okay, it feels pretty firmly rooted in there. So, trying to see if it's damp. It's hard to get my finger in there. Yeah, it feels a little bit damp. So I think we're just gonna let this one be too, but once again, I'm gonna recommend that they go the nursery pot and use this as just a cover pot route. Now, when it comes to these, you guys, I actually think this looks so much better without that purple pot here. We're now in sort of a good trio. I know there's technically 2 of these, but the way I have them positioned is kind of like a trio of objects. The colors go well together, and I really kind of like it here. And I was thinking about whether we would do something with this or not, but I kind of like how it's trailing. And it looks healthy. Nothing about it looks wrong other than, you know, it's grown out a bit, but look, it's getting like new growth right here. It's behaving very much like my donkey's tail, and I'm kind of digging it. And then, like I said before, the Haworthias here, they look good. So I think all I'm gonna do is once again recommend to them that they move these into nursery pots. But other than that, I'm not too mad about these. So that really just leaves this one that had the maggot in it. And we got to do something because it's just the soil line is off. I don't know, you guys. All right, maybe what we'll do. Oh, there is no drainage hole. That's right. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Don't fall over. Let me grab a pot. Okay, so I've got this 5-inch pot. Technically, this is almost a 5-inch pot. Like that fits perfectly in there. This is not, I don't think it's gonna fit in here as is. No. Okay, here's what I think we're gonna do. I think we're gonna sort of root prune this a bit because this is like, I kept thinking this is just gonna come off, but it's not. The roots are rooted pretty well in there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna shave the sides of this off a bit. I need a knife. I hope they aren't gonna kill me for using one of their kitchen knives to do this. Okay. We are just going to do off the sides here. Actually, I think I'm mostly, because this is like uneven, as you can see, with the way it was positioned here, I think we're gonna mostly just cut off this front part so that we can have it a little bit more even in the pot. I mean, look at this. So where the soil is loose, I'm just gonna, because we're gonna use cacti and the cacti and succulent soil that I brought for this. So where it's loose, I'm just gonna try to get it out of there. Because honestly, the soil that was around the original part of the plant that we can see up here looks a little bit different, and maybe like it has more, yeah, maybe it's not totally different. Kind of looked like it had more drainage to it. But I don't want to try to remove all the soil because unlike the snake plants that we were doing, like that have a thicker root, this is just super fine roots. So when you try to remove soil from that, like you just end up breaking roots. So we're just going to try to get all this loose stuff. I mean, it's crazy. You guys see that? Like it's not actually rooted. It's so weird. It's like it rooted down this way and around the bottom, but not straight down from there probably because there was that gap. I'm guessing. Okay. I think that's about as good as, that's so weird, you guys. Look at that. I don't even know. Okay. We probably need to trim off a little more. Yep. Okay. And I am going to work on a root pruning, like dedicated root pruning video for you guys, because I know I get a lot of questions from you. These poor leaves. Just, come off. I get a lot of questions from you guys about, can I root prune every kind of plant and whatnot? And so I'm going to do a dedicated video for you. All right. So weird. So weird. Will that work? I am really tempted just to cut that whole bottom part off. F it. We're doing it. we're just gonna cut this off. This is just, I'm over it. I'm over it. We do have some thicker roots up in there too that have never spread down. So now I really don't feel that bad about having done that. Okay, a little more off on this side. Oh, this leaf is just hanging on by a thread, so let's get that off of there. There is a leaf that is trying to root down in here, but it's like not doing the best of jobs, but it's gonna be too far down there, so I pulled that off, and then we'll just stick it back in the top since it does have some roots after we get this potted back up. And now we should be able to get in here nicely. Okay, good. So I'm just gonna get this potted up just like I've been doing with everything else, and then I think that might be the last of the like actual rehabbing and repotting part of the video. All right, you guys, I got that all potted up, and since this soil is from a brand new bag and it is slightly damp, and this soil was a tiny bit damp, I think I'm just gonna wait until I come back to water this one. All right, so I think all that leaves until I come back and deal with the ones that we beheaded is to kind of look at where everybody's going to be living now, which honestly, we aren't going to really relocate much. So let's take a look at where everything is going to go, and then I think we will be good to go for now. Okay, guys, so I went ahead and put this snake plant in here just to give you an idea. Now, the one that we put in water and the other one that we put in a 4-inch pot, ideally, eventually they're gonna go back here as well because I think this is a good spot for them. Once again, this is by that east-facing window, and it should be a decent amount of light if I just get the whole care situation sorted out with Chris and Megan. I think they should be fine. And then I think we're gonna leave this snake plant here because as we know, a southern facing window, that's a good amount of light for this plant. I think this is a good place for it. Okay, since we know the Dracaena has been happy living over here, I think we're just gonna leave it here. However, the golden pothos. So we know that that southern facing window is eventually going to cause potentially burn problems on this plant and various other things. We also know this plant is going to start to trail, and it didn't really have anywhere to trail to in that window. So we also know that can tolerate lower light situations, which, as we've already discussed, this west-facing window, because of the tree outside, when it's totally has all of its foliage during the summer, this is going to be slightly obstructed. And we also know that if we put it up here next to this Dracaena, now it has somewhere to trail. Now, it can't trail too low or their dog is probably going to go after it, but also they could consider moving it up to the shelf up here to trail, but I kind of like it better here because now you have the tall plant leads you down into the trailing plant. They might have to move that at some point, but for now, that's a good place for it to be. I also want to get them like a classier drainage tray for that. But this also helps because it opens up a space in the kitchen window for us to put the pot of succulents that was on the island that really needs to be getting more light. And then basically all I did up here, you guys, was rearrange and kind of regroup the plants to make them look a little bit better styled and a little bit more appealing in terms of their layout. Okay guys, so as far as our Raven ZZ plant goes, I think it would be really cute to put it by this window, by this chair. Now that is the footstool that was in front of the chair. They're going to have to get a plant stand for this plant for it to live right here. But since we don't have a plant stand right now, I thought we would just use the stool so we can imagine it. So imagine the stool is still here, a nice plant stand. Once again, ZZ plants will handle a pretty low light situation. So even though this west facing window does get obstructed a lot during the summer because of the big tree outside of it, this plant should do absolutely fine here. Now, if they want to, they can move it to almost any other window in their household, but I just thought that would look really cute right there. All right, you guys, well, I think I am done here for now at least. Like I said, I'm definitely going to need to host a little bit of a planty intervention when they get back and talk about some changes and care requirements that they need to do. But I feel like we have accomplished a lot over the last 2 days. We have definitely saved some plants. I think all these plants are in a better position now, better set up for success. I will try to do a follow-up video in the future for you, letting you know how the plants are doing, maybe like a month from now perhaps. And if you guys are having issues with your plants and you would love it if I could do something like this for you, just a reminder that I do video plant doctor consultations. And you can sign up for those via my website, alohaplantlife.com. If you are local to my area, I can actually come and do in person as well. So just let me know if you're interested in that. But hopefully you guys have learned something today. Hopefully this has been educational for you. If so, please be sure to click that like and or subscribe button down below. And I look forward to seeing you again next time. Aloha!